to announce our speakers then, unless someone's going to correct me and say I forgot something. No, Amber says I'm good. Let's see. All right. So we have 2 speakers tonight, and I wasn't told an order, so unless y'all have haggled it out, I'm going to just pick one of y'all. All right, come on up. So, Joseph is from LifeWise Academy, and we're going to talk about the Bible and Christian teaching in the government-run schools.
Joseph who?
Shehan.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm really super excited to be here with you guys, and I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys and for you guys to learn more about LifeWise Academy. Now, if you see there on the screen, it says, bringing Bible education to public school students during school hours. Mm-hmm. And I know that may sound a little impossible, might sound, a little crazy, but trust me, it is very, very real. We believe that this is the single greatest opportunity to be able to introduce our young people to the gospel and to the Bible. And we know that our nation, decades ago, systematically removed the Bible from our public school day, but we think that we offer a viable path to reintegration so that our young people can learn the Word of God, and that's what we do. So, what are we going to talk about a little bit? Well, we're going to be talking about the big picture, right? Why we exist as an organization, what we do, how we do it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about where we've been, where we're going, and what it's going to take to get there. And if we've got a little bit of time left, we'll talk about how maybe you guys can get involved with LifeWise. Okay? But talk to you a little bit more about myself. Okay, my name is Joe Shehan, or Joseph. Sometimes I don't like to go by Joseph, because when I hear Joseph, I feel like I'm in trouble. I turn around, expect my mom to be behind me. But Joe's my name. I'm the North Texas State Director. I'm based out of Fort Worth, Texas. So yes, I did drive from Fort Worth here today, come speak to you guys, and I really do appreciate you. But if you look all the way over there to the right, that is my better half. That is my wife, Bridget. We have been married for 24 years. We have been together 30 years because we are high school sweethearts. Matter of fact, the joke was we had chemistry. No, seriously, she sat next to me in chemistry when I first met her, and I've been hooked ever since. There on the left of me, the very tall young lady there, that is my daughter, Gail. She is 18 and she is a college freshman. She is studying mechanical engineering and she plays soccer at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. On the right, next to me, that is my middle daughter. She's a little bit taller than that today, but that is Amelia. She's 15, and she is a freshman at the Fort Worth Academy of Fine Arts. She's studying visual art. She is an amazing artist. Her dream is to be an animator or do games. And I keep pushing Christian animation towards her because I just think we need more of that. And then finally, that young lady there all the way over to the end on the left, that is my baby, that is my sweetheart, that is my Evelyn. She is 10 years old, and she just has us completely amazed every single day. So that's me and my family, so just get a little bit know about me there. So now we're gonna move into the question, why we exist. Well, simply put, we exist because we believe that students need the Bible. We think that the Bible is the most important thing, and we also know that right now, currently, we are seeing highs in anxiety, depression, suicide among our students. And at the same exact time, among our students, we are seeing all-time lows in church attendance, in professions of faith, in Bible literacy. And I can't think, I ask you, what's more important than the next generation being introduced to the Word of God? I can't think of anything more important than that. And yet, 80% of our students will never set foot in a church. And 90%, and so they're not coming to us, yet 90% of our students go to public school, and so there's the opportunity. So if they're not coming to us, right, then we've got to go to them. And so that's why we exist. So what do? Well, simply put, we take advantage of a little known Supreme Court ruling from 1952 called Zurich v. Clausen. In Zurich v. Clausen, they came up with a term called release time religious instruction. Well, what is release time religious instruction? It is simply that students are allowed to be released from school during the school day so long as, and receive religious instruction, so long as it's off property, privately funded, and parent permitted. And so, we think this is an absolute game changer because now we have a future changing opportunity to engage with students while they're at school, during the school day, during school hours. And that's just absolutely incredible. So, we have some examples, right, how we learned about it. There was what we call our forerunner, our release time instruction in Van Wert, Ohio. They were founded in 2012. All right, it was a community. They bought a house. They renovated 2 classrooms. Right? They went to their local elementary school, and their goal was simply to enroll 30% of their students at that school. And yet, to their surprise, but in 3 years, and that is not a typo, they had 95% attendance in their program. 95% attendance. That's over 600 students. And I have a video here of Van Wert. If it'll load, hopefully. If it doesn't, that's okay. I can tell you about it without even looking at the video. But there you go. So there's the building right there. They walk 450 feet from the entrance of the school to that school. It takes them 3.5 days, 3.5 school days, because they take 2 classes at a time, and during that time, those kids receive gospel instruction, biblical instruction, and the like. So it was while they were doing that in 2018 that they started asking a question. If Bible education, if release time religious instruction is legal, which it clearly is, the Supreme Court's ruled on it, and if is it effective, which it clearly is, they're seeing the impacts every day, then they want to know, why don't communities all across the country know about release time instruction? Why are there not these programs all across the country? I mean, if a community, they were asking, if a community can support a YMCA, a library, a McDonald's, and all these churches, why do communities across the country not know about release time instruction? And so they came to us, and we started figuring out the issue. And really, it came down to this. Release time instruction is super easy, okay? You grab the kid, you take them off campus, you teach them the Bible, you teach them moral instruction, and you take them back. Super easy. However, it's in the details that we have the issue, because you basically have to start a private school, right? You've got everything from facilities to transportation to funding to teachers to curriculum to insurance. And the list just goes on and on and on. And so what we discovered was the reason why this isn't happening in communities all across the country is there's just simply too many barriers to entry. It's just too hard. It's too expensive. When people really sit down and try to figure it out, it's incredibly tough to do it. And so that's when we came alongside and said, you know what if we could provide the systems and processes to take away or to alleviate those barriers to entry. And so in 2018, we formed LifeWise Academy as a plug-and-play program to come alongside communities to be able to help them navigate those different paths to be able to start these programs. And so how do we do it? Well, very simply put, we have a foundational philosophy, which we like to call our secret sauce. Right? Like McDonald's, we got a secret sauce. And it's founded in 3 principles. First, we are unapologetically, unswervingly, uncompromisingly gospel-centered. We know that the gospel is the only thing that can change lives. And so that is the hill that we are going to stand on. We also want to be excellent in everything we do. Why? Because we realize we're 2 things. One, we're ambassadors of the King. We represent the King, and so we want to make sure that everything we do is excellent.
Yes.
That includes our legal documents, our curriculum, our branding, and everything that we do. Second, we understand that we are competitors in the marketplace of ideas, yet we believe that the gospel is wholly acceptable in that marketplace. And so, because of that, we want to be excellent in everything we do. And third, we want to be completely community driven. This is not LifeWise or me coming into your community and doing this. This is you doing it. We are simply here to take on the burden of all of the barriers of entry and helping you learn how to fundraise, purchase curriculum, find facilities. In fact, I've got two ladies here who serve on our steering committee for 4 communities here in Lubbock County right now. Kathy and Anna, we stand up. Thank you guys. They didn't know I was going to do that. So they're probably going to tan my hide when I leave. But I just wanted y'all to know that we have people here in Lubbock County right now fighting to bring these programs to fruition, but that's because we are community-based. So now we're going to get into where have we been. Well, in 2019 and 2020, we started our proof of concept, and I've got a video here that I can show you. Hey, skip ahead on me. If it will load again, I might just have to speed through it. You know, all right. We'll just speed through videos. So our proof of concept in 2019 and 2020, we started our first 2 schools. We started in a rural part of Ohio where we opened up a modular building. Kids would walk across the street or walk across the playground to that modular building, and then they would receive instruction, and it became so successful that communities all around Ayersville, Ohio were asking us to start a program there because parents were pulling their kids out of schools in the community to send them to this program, to send them to LifeWise. And we told them, we're like, yeah, sure, we'll get right on it, right? Then in 2019, we also started our first pop-up program. And in that pop-up program, we set up the signs. We set up the signs outside at a church, a local church, which was right across the street from the school. And we met in the basement. We would have all of our signage in there, and then we would tear it down, right? So that the church could meet and church could use that facility. We do it once a week or every day, whatever the church needed. And in both of those schools, in Ayersville, they reached 70% enrollment in that school. 70% there. And in Rivercrest, they're all the way from K through 12. So they have every single class covered. But then, on top of that, in 2020, during the pandemic, we actually expanded. And in fact, we grew during the pandemic, which a lot of organizations couldn't say that. And in fact, we also started our first transportation program. We kind of, honestly, we didn't know. We kind of hesitated about putting kids on buses, but we realized kids get on and off buses all the time. And so we know that kids, if it's not a big deal for them, it's not going to be a big deal for us. And so we did that. So again, we had 2 successful programs by 2019. We expanded through the pandemic in 2020. And so we sat down and we went, you know what, we're in 8 schools now. It's 2020. Let's set a goal. And so we went, let's set a goal. We're going to be in 25 schools by 2025. Seems like a real goal, right? That's realistic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tell God your plan and make him laugh. Because by 2021, we were in 36 schools. In fact, we hit milestones we thought would take years for us to hit. We had our first across-state program out of Ohio and Indiana. We had our first suburban program, and we also had our first inner-city program. And I do have a video of our inner-city programs, but I'll just tell you a little bit about them so we don't, maybe it'll load, I hope so. But we started in Mifflin Middle School, which is in Columbus, Ohio. We started in the 6th grade, and by the end of the year, they were in 6th through 8th grade. Then, there we go, there's Mifflin Middle School right there. Then, we moved into the most dangerous community in all of Columbus, in Lennon, Ohio, and we founded a program in Windsor STEM Academy. And it went so well in that program that we are now in dozens of schools all across the Columbus inner city system. So that's a really big deal for us. And so we decided, okay, so we superseded our goal. So we're gonna do 1,000 schools by 2026. We can do 1,000 schools. We're gonna set that bar high because obviously we don't make really good goals for 25, so we're gonna set it a little bit higher. We're gonna see what God can do. And so we put together a plan. We wanted to be in 650 schools by 2025.
Wow.
We're in 1,200 schools now. We are confirmed to be in 1,200 schools. In 2024, we were in 585 schools in 27 states. We are now confirmed to be in 1,200 schools or more. We grow all the time. Matter of fact, we got 4 coming here to Lubbock County. We're growing all the time. And the reality is, God continues to show himself to be faithful. And so I'm showing him out. I don't show all this to brag. I don't show all this to say that we are really great. I'm showing you this to say this. I get told all the time, well, that's great, but that's just not going to work in my community. That's just not possible here. Well, I want to show you this map because we are confirmed from New York to California, from Alaska to Florida. And so it is possible. We believe that it can happen in any community, whether it is the most inner city, the most rural of rural, or the richest of suburbs. We know that it can happen, and it can happen in our communities all across. Because what is the impact of that? Well, right now we are serving 55,000 students. That's 55,000 students hearing the gospel and learning about the Bible that otherwise would not have.
Amen.
So I promise you I'm not gonna keep you much longer, and I want to be able to open the floor for some questions because everybody's got questions, but I want to talk to you about the impact. We have a video here of a lady named Julie, and hopefully it looks.
So I am the director for Upper Arlington, which is a suburban school district in Columbus, Ohio. And I got started in doing that after hearing about LifeWise from a friend at church, and it reminded me a whole lot of something that my grandmother did. My grandmother started a Bible education program back in the 60s. And she taught for over 4 decades. It started actually pretty small, actually in her living room with 10 kids, and that 10 grew to 20, and that 20 grew to 30, and then eventually it moved to the church down the street. And she taught a lot of kids that went to the elementary school that my dad went to. And he actually came to faith in Jesus as a result. So my grandmother passed away in 2013, and the church where her funeral was held was packed. And I remember at one point, the pastor that was giving the sermon asked the question, if you came to faith in Jesus as a result of this Bible education program, would you please stand? And 2/3 of that church stood up. I remember in that moment telling God, yes. If ever something like this crosses my path, I'm going to be all in. And I'm a physician, so this is not in my wheelhouse. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a ministry, but I believe in this mission to reach the next generation with the gospel of Christ. So I have my grandmother's Bible, and in the margins are names of kids that attended class, and she would circle Bible verses and draw arrows to the kids' names. And now, as I'm the director, I write kids' names in my Bible, and I will circle Bible verses that I will pray over them. And I have seen the impact that one person can make but they have a heart to reach that next generation with the gospel. But with LifeWise, it's the whole community. And I can't wait to see what heaven's gonna look like when we see the impact of a whole group of people coming together with that same mission.
That story gets me every time. But we also have one of my favorite stories here, which is Christian's story. And I'm just going to read from the screen if that's okay. It says, when I got a flyer, Bethany is Christian's mom, by the way, and that's Bethany on the screen. It says, when I got the flyer in the mail, I just thought it couldn't hurt. Now we're attending church every Sunday. Like our story, LifeWise might lead someone to church and change a whole household. Bethany's family, again, she thought it couldn't hurt. And Christian came home and shared what he was learning, and they started attending the church that Christian was attending the LifeWise program at. And now she attends a weekly Bible study, and the entire family is actively involved in a LifeWise program. And we get told stories like this all the time. Matter of fact, we just had 160 impact stories fill our email just this last week. And so it's real. And it's the reason why we say the gospel changes lives. If we are unapologetically, unswervingly, uncompromisingly gospel-centered, we are going to change lives.
Amen.
So where are we going? Well, simply put, we have a national goal. We know that there are 13,000 school districts, 90,000 schools, and over 50 million students. And believe it or not, 1/10 of that is here in Texas. And so what does our state rollout look like? Well, simply put, we want to amplify. Meaning we want to spread the message, we want to nurture this, we want to be able to locate people within those communities and be able to get the message out. Then we want to equip by identifying people in those communities, coaching them in our systems and processes, and getting the plan approved through the school district and beginning to move into the next step, which is ultimately launching a sustainable program. And those are what we do on a consistent basis. We have a 10-step program that we walk every community through. And we do not want to rush it just so that we can start. Because why? We want this program to be around 30, 40 years from now or longer. So let me tell you a little bit about Texas. What's going on here in the great state of Texas, what I'm a part of. I was hired to bring and to amplify and to do all of those three things: amplify, exemplify, and identify and implement. And so now, amplifying, we have districts with 50 signatures, school districts. There are over 1,200 school districts in the state of Texas. Right now we have 395. And in fact, I actually need to update this because we're almost at 400 school districts. We're almost a third of the way there. And we've only been in Texas, actively working here in Texas since 2024. We have 66 districts with steering committees, meaning that they are on their way to planning out and launching their first program. And then we have 53 schools right now confirmed here in the state of Texas. When I started, we had 5. So that should tell you everything. So why are we having so much success? Well, simply put, in 2024, we launched our first 5 programs. 2 of them are in Amarillo. 1 is in Abilene, and 1 is in a little community outside of Texarkana called Red Lake. 2025, I was hired, as well as my counterpart down in South Texas, because again, 1,218 school districts is a lot of school districts. Texas is a big place. I had to tell the people in Ohio, it's 15 hours across. It's gonna take me a while. So they went, maybe we should hire 2. I said, yes, we should. All right, but also this legislative session, thanks to the help of a lot of very brave and very courageous people, including one of the state senators near me, Phil King, we passed Senate Bill 1049. This bill creates a shall state here in the state of Texas and makes it to where school districts cannot say no. So a school district cannot say no.
All right.
Yep. So what's it gonna take? Well, simply put, we need people. But we need specifically 3 kinds of people. We need people to come alongside us, even after tonight, and tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us how we can actually have a greater impact in your community. But more importantly, we need connectors. We need people to go out there and connect us with the right people. And we also need people to go out there and share the message. Amplify, get the message out there. And then, ultimately, because of the Supreme Court ruling, we are privately funded. So we need funders. We need people that are out there. But guess what? I'm not asking for money tonight. I'm not. I don't want your money. I just want you to pay attention to this, right? Because that right there is only half of the people that are now working for LifeWise. I was up there this last summer, and we have over 1,000 employees now. And why? Because this mission is important to Christians. So I want to encourage you, if you want to right now, go ahead and take out your phone. We have a QR code up on the screen. Or you can go to lifewise.org, and find your community, find your school district, find your local school, and sign up and see what we need. Because some schools are already moving towards that. I know some of the school districts here locally need steering committee members. Need people to help us get it over the top. Help us get that meeting with the superintendent. Help us to hire a program director. All those types of things. So this is where you're going to find out. Okay? And with that, I'm done. So I want to open it for questions. Yes, sir.
Do you consider yourself complimentary to Turning Point USA?
Good question. In fact, before Charlie was assassinated, 3 weeks after the day that he was assassinated, had he lived, he was scheduled to endorse LifeWise.
Wow.
LifeWise is actually the highlighted resource in the TP USA education page. So yes, we align very well with TP USA. Yes, ma'am?
What did you mean it takes 3.5 days?
So with the school in Ayersville, Ohio, or Van Wert, Ohio, 600 students are released, but it takes 3.5 days because they only release 2 classes at a time. Because we all, at LifeWise, we only take the student out 1 hour per week. We don't take them out every day. Yeah, and it's not during core classes. So students, if they miss a class, it's going to be an elective. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How do you navigate all the different denominations and their doctrines?
That's a very good question. Well, for one, we have a very good training program for our teachers. And one of the things that we teach our teachers to do is any kind of doctrinal or theological question, we get them in contact with a minister. Or we encourage them to go to their parent, or we encourage them to go to their minister. We don't, because again, we are non-denominational. We use a curriculum that Lifeway helped us, and LifeWise Southern Baptist, but they helped us put together. And I've shown our curriculum to, believe it or not, I've shown our curriculum to Orthodox priests, Catholic priests, Lutherans, Methodists, run the gamut. No one has an issue. Because again, we don't get into that. It's really simply gospel-centered, and then biblical character and morals. That's it.
Good.
You know, we can talk about eschatology another time. Any more questions?
I have something to say.
Oh, let me get this question and then I'll give you an opportunity. Yes, sir.
Do you know what schools know what they're going to be?
That's a great question for these ladies over here on the end. I myself do not know specifically what schools they're targeting, but I can see you're interested.
I can say proudly that French is the first one to accept LifeWise. Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
talked to Lubbock ISD, we're talking to Lubbock Cooper and Shell Walker.
All right, Kathy, you had something to say.
She said it.
She said, okay. See, they're a great team. They think alike. It's awesome. I've been working with these ladies since July, and these ladies are, well, I haven't actually, Brittany's been working with y'all, but I've known these lovely ladies, and you know, we had another lovely lady that was part of this program as well, that was part of our steering committee, who unfortunately was about a month ago, she passed away. and this was her dream to have this here. And she was a big time TPUSA, Charlie Kirk supporter. And in fact, it was Charlie Kirk who turned her on to LifeWise. Because he actually spoke about LifeWise from the stage because he had just learned about it, and it just blew him away. So.
Do you remember her name?
Penny?
Oh, Penny.
Penny Kosa. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to be here till the end. If you have any questions for me, come talk to me, and thank you very much.